Hey, good morning YouTube. Welcome back to Living the Dream Racing. Once again, more updates for you guys. Just want to show you some stuff here. The car, for the most part, is pretty much wired up to the driver's compartment, and most of the stuff running back to the engine compartment. Got my new grab handles in from the pull out, make it easier to get in and out of the car. Of course, I got the fuel system all plumbed up here. I just need to run the fuel lines back now. And the only thing that I have left to do up here is run my cooling hoses from the radiator back to the engine compartment, and then the charge wire for the alternator, and then my battery charging lug, which I'm going to run up here by the fuel filler, because there's going to be a panel right here. There's going to be a door to access that, and by putting my charging cable there, I'm not going to have to cut another hole in the body, which is something I don't want to do. So that'll make it easier. I'll just run it up to here. We'll secure it, so I've got a way to plug the car in and charge the battery when I'm not running. So aside from that, what we got is I'm going to go through my vacuum pump today and go through it and rebuild it. One thing, there's a few different manufacturers of vacuum pumps out there. There's Star Machine, which is what I have. There's an older Sportsman version. They also have Moroso. There's Jones Engineering, GZ Motorsports, and I'm not sure if there's some others, but those are out there. All really good parts, all really good systems, and they all do the same thing. They pull the engine crankcase into a vacuum. So what's the benefit of that? Well, there's a few reasons. Number one, it helps to keep the oil clean. It gets excess condensation and moisture out of the crankcase. It helps reduce oil leaks, which is pretty nice. But the main thing for running a vacuum pump is they increase engine power. And here's how it works. Whenever the engine's running, it creates a lot of blow-by gases, or it creates a lot of cylinder pressure, and those push outward on the piston rings. In the old days, we used really heavy rings to try to seal up the engine, and we let the blow-by be what it was. But the issue with those big heavy rings is they created a lot of drag on the cylinder walls. So as we advanced and things got more modern, we found out that we didn't need nearly as much tension on the rings as we thought we did. And so we got lower and lower tension rings as we go along. But one of the things that we can do with really low tension rings is we can help those to seal. And there's two ways to do this. I'm going to go over to my junk pile here, my old parts, see if I got one that's handy here. Yeah, my garage is in complete disarray. I don't have one handy right now. What it is one of the things we can do to help those low tension rings seal is we can drill small holes in the tops of the pistons and do what's called gas porting. What we do is we drill those holes to the back side of the ring groove, so whenever the combustion process takes place, that pressure from the combustion process goes in behind the ring and it pushes the ring out up against the cylinder wall to help it seal. That allows us to run a lower tension ring. There's less drag on the cylinder wall as a result of it, and we can make more power. The other thing is if we pull the crankcase into a vacuum while the engine is running, that relieves the pressure that's below the rings and allows them also to seal better. Now, it's been documented, most vacuum pump systems, when they're properly sized for the engine's sealed up properly and everything's working the way it's supposed to, you can see increases of 20, 25 horsepower all the way up to 65 or 70 horsepower increase just by running the crankcase in a vacuum. So they are very, very beneficial. But let me show you what I've got here, and I'll tell you the reason I'm rebuilding this one too. A couple reasons. So anyway, what I've got is I have my Star Machine vacuum pump right here. I actually bought this pump used off a racer that was in Puerto Rico. I bought it from him, I believe, in 2014, and I haven't done anything to this pump since then. It has been working fantastically up until this last season, and I'll explain that in just a minute. I've also got my rebuild kit here for it, and I got some new pieces parts from Star Machine. Now, the thing about Star is they want their vacuum pumps to move air only. They don't want to pump any oil through them. GZ Motorsports, Moroso, they're a little bit more tolerant to oil going through the pumps. But Star Machine, they like to see just the air coming out of the engine free of oil. I've been running this on a valve cover location. Let me show you here on the engine. Get her uncovered here. I had my bung right there where my crappy weld job is at. But the problem with that is I wasn't pulling vacuum. I was pulling oil. And that's one of the reasons I'm rebuilding this guy right now. That oil that I was pulling, I was getting over a quart a pass, and my vacuum trace on my data recorder was only showing I was pulling about 2 inches of vacuum. So instead of pulling vacuum, I was pulling oil. Why is that? I run a lot of oil on the top end of my engine. Contrary to popular belief, it's not a bad thing, okay? Especially when you have the drain backs addressed. It's not bad to have oil on top of the engine, and there's a lot of people that will restrict oil to keep it from going up there. It's not a bad thing when your system's working right, okay? But anyway, it was pulling a lot of oil. Well, that doesn't work, okay? I need to pull vacuum. So what I'm doing is I'm moving the vent, or the fitting that this will attach to the other side of the engine, to the top of the valve cover. Now, the reason I'm doing that is simply because that portion of the valve cover is over the lifter galley. There's a huge opening below it. It's not going to grab any oil. It'll only pull air from the crankcase. It's up away from everything, and it's out of the way of the rocker arms. And that's one of the reasons I had the fitting over on that side before, on the other side, is because it cleared the rocker arm there. It wouldn't clear it higher on the valve cover. So this setup is going to be a little bit better. It's going to work better. It's going to pull more vacuum. I bought a new fitting. That's this guy right here to go into the valve cover. This is from Star Machine. All I have to do is drill the appropriate hole in the valve cover, and then this screws in and seals with an O-ring. The difference between this one and the one that I had before is, I don't think you can see down in there, but this fitting here has a screen in it, and that screen is going to limit how much stuff it pulls in. So it's going to kind of help separate the oil and everything from everything else. So we're going to do that. The other thing is, instead of going straight from the valve cover into the vacuum pump and then from the vacuum pump to a catch can, what we're going to do is I'm going to go back to running things the way Star Machine wants them done. And I got their setup here, really nice setup, all billet aluminum. What's going to happen is the line from the valve cover is going to go over to this tank right here, my oil separator, and there's a baffle in here, and there's also filter media in here, and it's going to go through there. Then it's going to go from here to the vacuum pump, and then from the vacuum pump over to my exhaust, which is also baffled. Now, the way Star Machine makes these is they have a very open cell, I guess you call it reticulated foam inside these guys, and that foam helps also to separate oil vapor and stuff from the baffles. However, I run methanol, and the thing about methanol is methanol and that foam do not agree at all. I'm looking for the new material that I'm using. I've got a piece of it, if I can find it. I'm kind of disorganized right now, as you can tell. Everything's a mess. I got stuff scattered everywhere, but it's been real busy. I've got a lot going on, so I apologize for that. But anyway, sorry to get sidetracked. Anyway, that foam doesn't work very well with methanol. What happens is, as soon as methanol starts hitting it, it starts dissolving. And as it dissolves, it gets sucked through the pump, and then it gets discharged through the system, and it also helps contaminate the pump. So what I've done is I have a stainless steel media. It actually comes out of an air dryer off of a heavy truck. And I've replaced the foam media in these guys, both of these guys, with that stainless steel mesh. And it does the same job, except it doesn't care about methanol. It's not going to dissolve it or anything. So that'll take care of that. So that's what these guys are going to be for. So I'm going to rebuild the pump. When I get everything in, I'm going to hook these guys up and plumb them, and then my system will go from the valve cover to this guy, from this guy to the vacuum pump, from vacuum pump to this guy, and then he's going to vent to atmosphere, and that's how all that works. So I'm going to get all set up here to do my vacuum pump, get everything all cleaned up and out of the way, and I'll go ahead and show you taking it all apart, going through it, and putting it back together. So if you want to hold on for just a minute, we'll get back to you. All right, so we're back. Got everything all set up here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to get this bracket off right here. I'm going to go ahead and leave it attached. I'm just going to pull these bolts right here. If I can get my wrench in there. There we go. Now the nice thing about this mounting on the Star vacuum pump is it gives you a lot of options as far as locations goes for the mounts. I got my pulley here. Actually, this is not the pulley that I run a different one. I put that one on there because I needed to loosen something. And if you look on here, you can see I'm already starting to get oil coming off this guy. Not a lot of parts in these guys. And like I said, pretty simple to do. And I probably should have done this long before it got to this point. So you can see on this particular mounting bracket for this pump, I got multiple locations to put the stands. And also on the pump, I've got multiple locations to locate the bolts in order to facilitate mounting the pump and have everything working out the way it needs to. Okay, so I'll get my mounting screws out. Okay, next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and pull off my vacuum regulator. But before I do that, I'm going to take my crescent wrench. Nope, not that one. We'll get a bigger one. Yeah, out of my mess of tools over here. And, well, we're going to attempt to break loose the lock nut. There we go. Taking that out so we can go through our vacuum regulator, which is this guy right here. So we're going to go ahead, get this guy taken apart. The Star machine, in my opinion, makes the nicest vacuum pumps that there are. But like I said, there's also GZ Motorsports. There's Moroso. Both of them also make an excellent vacuum pump. There's Jones Engineering, makes an excellent vacuum pump. Just depends on what you're looking for. Every one of them will get the job done. I got a hell of a deal on this one, which is why I run it. And it's pretty much been flawless up to this point. Okay? So we're gonna, there's my fitting block. And I got a couple O-rings in here. We're going to take out. Now you can see all the residual oil that's in here. That shouldn't be in there. We'll set that guy off over here. And this pump has been long past due for a rebuild, so I just finally got around to getting it done because of how much oil this thing was sucking. Okay, so before we get too far, we're going to take this guy off back here. Now these guys here are pretty important. This guy right here helps to retain the shaft in the pump. I have a replacement one right here for the front because mine fell out. So you want to make sure that you keep track of that stuff. Got to adjust this here just a little bit. There we go. Now I'll go ahead and take out all of the bolts here. Place them somewhere safe. Probably I'll put these guys over here too. One thing we need to make sure is that our bearings look correct, and they do, which if you order the right parts it shouldn't be an issue. But I've had issues before, not with Star Machine, but I've had issues with other manufacturers before sending the wrong stuff, so just want to verify that. So just a little pry up, and out comes the main body here. The seal comes off right there. Here's the vanes. They just come out like so. That comes out like so. There's my vanes. Let me grab a paper towel here, a couple of them. You can see there's a lot of oil in this pump. This pump doesn't work with oil. It doesn't like it. Okay? We're going to go ahead and pull our rotor here out. And go ahead and set him right there. Actually, we're going to set this stuff over here and kind of set this up to keep the rotor from going anywhere. Use the old vanes. So now we're down to our cover and our bearings. So all I got to do here, clean up the housings, get all the oil out, which it's going to take me a little bit. We get all the oil out of here. Housing is in excellent condition. The only thing I need to do is knock these bearings out, and then we'll be ready to start reassembling. You know, the nice thing about it here is when we go to reassemble, I got all new O-rings, all new bearings, bearing seats. I have wear shims, new O-rings, new blades, Loctite, and we're good to go. So this is all there is to it. These are pretty easy. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video right here as I go through and get the bearings out and stuff like that. And then I'll probably do a time lapse or something of me putting it back together. But that's all there is for a vacuum pump. There's not that much to them. They're a piece of cake, but they work really, really well, and they serve a really important job on a racing engine. So stay tuned. I'll be right back. Okay, now that I've got the pump all apart, I've got everything inspected, I can get everything cleaned up and get it ready for reassembly. So what I'm doing right here, I'm just taking some paper towels with some acetone on them, and I'm going through and trying to clean up all the surfaces, all the O-ring grooves, and everything that had oil in it basically, which is the whole pump. There was quite a bit of oil inside the pump that had to be cleaned out, and got that taken care of. Then I took a small pocket screwdriver and got rid of some of the oil that had been coked in behind the bearings, some of the deposits there. Didn't really scrape the housing. It's a kind of a blunted point, rounded point screwdriver that I use for stuff like that. I'm just removing the carbon deposits from where the oil had gotten in and gotten hot and baked itself. You want to be careful cleaning these things up because the surfaces are anodized or hard coat anodized. And while it's pretty tough, it's pretty durable, it can get scratched. And you don't want to do that because once you get a scratch in that stuff, if you have anything that can cause corrosion or any degradation of the aluminum, like I do, I run methanol. Methanol will get in there, it'll start corroding that up, and pretty soon your vacuum pump's junk. Now this vacuum pump is pretty old, but it's still in perfect condition because there are no scratches on it. As you can see, I'm going through and cleaning out all the grooves, especially the grooves for the new wipers. It's very, very important those grooves are very clean and dry, and that they are taken care of like that, because the wipers cannot stick in those grooves. They need to be able to move freely with just the weight of the wiper itself. You also see me driving into new bearings. They are a light press fit into the cover and into the housing, and it doesn't take a whole lot to get them in, but it's a little bit more than thumb pressure. I do have a press, but I did not want to put these components in a press because it's a 20-ton and it's definitely not needed. So what I did is I took a screwdriver handle and another screwdriver and I just tapped them into place with that, and that worked pretty well. Making sure that I inserted the Teflon wear plate, or the Teflon thrust washer, the steel wear plate in behind the bearing before it went in, so everything fits in there properly and it's seated to the proper depth. Once I did that, I went ahead and slid the rotor back into the housing, spun it, make sure the bearing was free, and then I went ahead and took the wipers and installed them into the rotor. Now the important thing to remember on these two also is that they are marked with a little blue dot on these particular ones on how they should go back in. A little blue dot goes outwards towards the housing, so you don't want to forget that. So once you got that in place, you got the rotor in place, you got the wipers in place, and they're properly oriented, then you can go ahead and slide the new O-ring into position that seals the front cover, and put the front cover in, made it up, because there are some locating dowels for that. It is very specific, but you go ahead and put the front cover on there, locate it, put the bolts in, and tighten all of that stuff down. Next thing I did, once I had the vacuum pump back together, I went ahead and attacked the vacuum regulator. I got that all apart, got all the oil cleaned out of that. There was an extra O-ring in the kit, but it did not fit the vacuum valve that was in there. So I went and checked my stash of O-rings that I carry. I didn't have any of the correct ones. So I did take a closer look at that one, make sure that it was in good shape, and it was really in good shape. So I just decided to clean it off, get the excess oil buildup and stuff off, and reuse it. All that O-ring does is create the seal where the vacuum valve sits on the base of the regulator itself, and then there's a spring that fits behind it that holds it into place. So it's real simple. Your adjustment as you tighten it up to increase the vacuum. It's harder for it to open, and you back it off or loosen up the spring to reduce how much vacuum it takes to open it. So it's real simple to adjust. But I got all that cleaned out. I'll put it back together. New O-rings sealed that to the top of the housing. So I went ahead and got that in there and got those bolts all torqued up. And then the last thing is to take the locking bolt with washer. There's one on each end. There's one that goes over the back bearing, and then there's one that goes on top of the pulley in the front. And all these things are there is to keep the rotor from coming out, keep the bearings from working out. It just holds the whole assembly together. I had lost the one in front of the pulley, and I made sure I got a new one, and both of these are installed with Loctite. And once you have all of that done, your assembly's all done. You just put it back in your mount, and you're good to go. So that's all on this one. I'm back, YouTube. Okay, so just did a time lapse on rebuilding my vacuum pump here. As you can see, I got it all back together. The only thing I need to do is mount the mounting bracket back to the pump, but I can't do that yet because I actually need to figure it out how I'm going to put it on the engine, since the configuration has changed just a little bit. But that's it in a nutshell. It's ready to go. It's just a matter of putting it on the engine, and we'll be good. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Help me grow this channel. And I'll see you guys again on the next one. We got more coming up.